Today I've chosen to give my speech on the Utah Jazz, and the reason why I decided to give my informative speech on the Utah Jazz is for two main reasons. First off, I'm born and raised in Utah. I feel like the Jazz represent where I'm from. And second off is because my dad has always loved the Jazz. I remember as a young kid watching the Jazz on TV all the time and even attending games with my dad. So it really represents or signifies a special relationship that I have with my dad. Now, a way that you guys could kind of tie this with your own lives could be to think of something that really represents where you're from and how you have passion for that thing. And then again, think of something that really signifies a relationship that you have with a special person and how you're really passionate and you love that thing as well. So as you can see here, I'm wearing my Utah Jazz jersey, and a little information about the Jazz and their heritage. The Jazz moved from New Orleans in 1979 to Salt Lake City. Now the Jazz, their name was originally because of that rich New Orleans heritage, but in 1979, when they moved, they decided to keep the name. And that was to hopefully save on costs of relocating and rebranding a team. They also decided to keep the colors, and the original colors were a green, a purple, and a yellow. Now you can see it's changed a little bit since then. We still have a green. It's a little bit darker than the original green. We have the yellow, and instead we have a darker blue instead of the purple. So a lot has changed since the Jazz came to Salt Lake City, and it's really exciting for someone that has passion for the Jazz. In 1979, when they first moved here, they were just looking for a fresh start. The team was struggling in New Orleans, and they wanted to relocate, get a new fan base, and just start all over. But that first year, they really struggled. They took last in their division, and even the second year in Salt Lake, they struggled as well. But the team decided to hire a man by the name of Frank Layden. Now, if you look at your first visual, then you'll see a picture of Frank Layden standing next to Jerry Sloan. Frank Layden changed the Jazz hugely. Um, his first year, he came in and he helped sign a great player by the name of Adrian Dantley. Adrian Dantley was always among one of the top scorers in the league when he played. Along with that, after a couple seasons watching the Jazz still kind of struggle, but do better with Adrian Dantley, he said, "I'm going to take over as head coach." So Frank Layden, first off, he was general manager, and he decided to take over as head coach as well. Within his first couple seasons, he got the Jazz to the playoffs, and he was just great at coaching, great at negotiating deals with players, and he really could find great talent in the NBA draft. In 1984, not too many years after the Jazz had moved to Salt Lake, they drafted John Stockton. And for those of you that don't know him, he was a little known, short, white kid from Gonzaga University, a little university in Washington State. And he went on to lead the Jazz in multiple categories. He led them in assists, and he has the record for most assists out of any player. He also led him in steals. He has the record for most steals for any player in the NBA. A year after drafting John Stockton, they drafted Karl Malone, also known as the Mailman. And those two, they had a special relationship, and they led the Jazz to so many great wins. They led them to playoff appearances. They won divisions and conferences, and the pinnacle of their career was in 1996 and 1997 when they led the Jazz to the NBA Finals twice. Unfortunately, they didn't win, but still, they are the face of the Utah Jazz. Also notable is Jerry Sloan. He ended up taking over the head coaching spot from Frank Layden. Frank Layden finally trusted someone to coach the Jazz, and Jerry Sloan is known nationally. He led the Jazz to 15 consecutive playoff appearances, and he's top 5 among the winningest coaches in the NBA. So you can see the Jazz just had a a great transformation. Right now, they're struggling. They've gotten a new head coach to hopefully help turn things around. And they've got some really fresh young talent that we're hoping to get back to where we were. Um, in your first visual, you also see a picture of Jerry Sloan, and you also see in your second visual a picture of John Stockton and Karl Malone, who just transformed this franchise, helped them turn into something that gained national attention. And in a state like Utah that often doesn't get a lot of attention, these players and these guys really put Utah on the map, and they changed the face of the Utah Jazz organization and really changed the attitude of Utah professional sports. And I love the Jazz, and I'm excited for this new season, and you better bet I'll be cheering them on.